everybody, it's Calxiyn here. If you guys enjoyed this video, remember to become a patron over on Patreon or join our Discord server because Discord is free. Anyway, so we're gonna talk about Jaune's progression because I mentioned this in the Jaune how they handled the semblance video, but me and Jaune have had a very interesting relationship. So if you guys are new to this channel, I would just like to outline exactly the relationship that Jaune and I have had. So, the beginning of Volume 1, Hunter is showing me a show that I thought that I would hate. Isn't that ironic now as we are recording 20 videos?
Yeah, you're fucking, honestly, I wish I could show
you. Do you have regrets?
I wish I could take you to the, sometimes I wish, like, don't show RWBY, but other times I'm like, I wish I could take like a magic mirror and bring you back, like, this is you, like, a year from now, and not only are you watching RWBY, but you are, like, it's almost midnight.
Hours in the video.
It's almost midnight. It's become the most popular thing, like, it becomes almost a catalyst of popularity on your channel, and Hunter looks like he wants to die because it's fucking midnight and we're on our 7th video. I wish I could, and I wonder what,
do you have to work tomorrow?
No.
Okay,
I wonder what...
You can also show them tomorrow when you are
yes.
miserable. Anyway. So you want what, did you say?
I just want to know what you would look like in that moment.
So, during Volume 1, I mildly disliked Jaune. I thought his Snow Angel stuff wasn't very fun, and I didn't really like his arc with Cardin, but, like, I sat through it, apparently. I don't even remember watching the first volume. I don't remember watching any of the volumes with you.
You don't have a memory, Cal. You legitimately do not remember.
It's stuff with RWBY stuff, though.
You do
it's not even the volume.
You are 18 and you have dementia. It's sad, Cal. You should do fucking, like, word puzzles and, like, Sudoku. You need to, like, you can't stay out, like, in the sun too long. You need to make sure that whatever you do, you keep the cognitive level that you have right now.
This is not cognitive? Okay,
like,
anyway.
Because the second you walk in a room and I'm like, I forgot what I'm doing here for, I'm like, I'm out. I don't want to be chained to the 32-year-old with dementia, but I digress. Okay. Yes, so Jaune, you don't remember watching the
I don't remember. But... Anyway, so then Volume 2 got better. Jaune was hardly there, if I remember correctly.
He really
So we had that dance thing with Weiss, though, where he wanted to ask her out, and I was like, wow, Miles can't sing. But apparently I think that was supposed to be it, because he sung the Camp theme song, and he sounds fine.
The dance
John's
scene...
like, Weiss!
Yeah.
You have such beautiful eyes, like whatever he said, I don't even remember. He did not say that. But like, I was like, well, he's annoying. Like, he's every guy that I've talked to in high school.
You didn't talk to people in high school.
Even if I, like, or guys that talk to other girls in high school and I observe them be cringy.
More accurate.
You know what I mean?
Also, like, I've never seen a fucking guy break out a guitar and was
well,
like...
not like that, but hey, you wanna, hey, I need to talk to you for a second, and then, they'll be like, well, as long as you, like, don't do anything weird, and then he'll be like, I lied! You know what I mean? It happens. Or, like, just girls, like, dodging, like, guys' texts. I feel like that's basically what Weiss did, but in person form, if that makes sense. Anyway, so then Volume 3 comes around, again, Jaune's not really around, but he's around enough that I'm like, okay, well, he's getting a bit better. You know, he's not being as cringy anymore.
I want to rewatch 3, because I feel like it's been so long.
He wasn't pissing people off, you know, like, he respected Pyrrha, because he was disrespectful when he was like, I don't want you to help me win!
There is that scene where it's just like, ooh, is Arcos gonna happen? And he gets thrown up against the wall.
Yeah, I actually thought that was probably one of the best Jaune scenes.
It's been a while since I watched it.
But, like, you know what, like, Jaune was pretty sweet and, like, nice, and he was trying to be funny and cheer Pyrrha up. Like, he was just a good dude, you know? And so I was like, oh, Jaune's not that bad. I feel like he's really developed. And then Volume 4 happened, and Hunter and I were like, yikes. Well, I guess Jaune died, and so, Pyrrha died for Jaune, and so...
I don't believe, no, she did.
I mean, not for Jaune, but Pyrrha died, and then in relation to Jaune is kind of what I'm talking about. Not for Jaune, like, she wasn't there.
He couldn't stop her, she wouldn't couldn't stop her.
I don't mean that she died for, like, to rescue Jaune. That's obviously not what happened, but I mean, like, in relation to our Jaune discussion right here, because I gotta set out the timeline for them, Hunter. So when that happened, I was kind of like, eh, and then I saw some really, like, detailed posts just posts online about how, like, people felt like Pyrrha, the only reason Pyrrha died was to further Jaune's character development, and that she wasn't really developed in that of herself, and we've talked about that before. Like, I think it brings up some good points, and we've done videos on it already, so I won't, like, harp on that too long, but I feel like Pyrrha was just not that developed, like, in general. Like, she undergo no growth, like, she was a pretty static character most of the time.
I don't think entirely, because I feel like she did receive some growth when she decided to become a maiden.
Yeah, but that was, like, kind of near the
11th,
final.
It was in the 11th hour.
Yeah, exactly.
But, you know, it happened regardless.
Yeah, and so, like, she didn't get that much of her own growth, and she was pretty much basically used by everyone. So she was used by, like, Cinder, and to further Cinder's development, and to obviously further the plot, and to... Okay, well, we'll talk about RWBY's development, because I feel like she was used to further RWBY's development, but then RWBY just hasn't been developed at all. But that's a video that we're talking about on Friday. We're gonna talk about how RWBY seems to have gotten the short end of the stick here.
Which I kind of disagree in a lot of sense, but, you know, that's waiting for that episode.
I mean, I guess it's, like, compared to other people, not in her own right.
Yes.
Like, compared to Blake, let's say, because I feel like Blake has had a nice transformation.
There's been some good Blake episodes recently.
Yeah. And so, people are kind of, I don't want to say upset, but they're upset that, like, yeah, Pyrrha didn't seem to be her own character, like, she didn't really undergo her own growth necessarily, like, she was pretty static most of the time, and then, like, when she finally was doing something, she kind of, I don't want to say, like, she was sort of taken advantage of, and that was pretty much, like, kind of the tune for that for her entire arc, was just her being taken advantage of people. And I know that sounds, like, I don't know, really shitty, but that's kind of what Ozpin did, to an extent. Even if, like, she agreed to be a maiden, like, you're kind of inflicting yourself on, like, a 17-year-old girl that really wants to save the world and maybe isn't ready yet, but we can debate about that if you want. But anyway, so I understand why people were mad about that. Like, I think that there is a truth somewhere in the middle. Like, I know a lot of people get a little intense, like the show is anti-feminist because Pyrrha died for Jaune and only Jaune. Like, I don't think it's that extreme, but I think that it is somewhere in the middle where, like, she died to further a bunch of people's development, but some people got better development than others because of it. You know what I mean? That she also died for RWBY's development, but RWBY's development was just handled very poorly compared to Jaune's, and so it's more evident that it happened for Jaune.
It was brought up less.
Yeah, and that's even worse for me, because, like, RWBY's supposed to be the main character and hasn't been brought up at all, really, except for the scene with Oscar, but we gotta kind of go through that.
I disagree with you on a few things, but yeah, that'll happen in that video.
Yeah, and so, like, anyway, I think that there is a middle ground. I'm not, like, one of those insane people that is, like, the show is anti-feminist, like, Jaune is the patriarchy. Like, no, like, that's not where we're going.
Or basically what I said in that not what I said in the Jaune video, but similarly angry at Jaune.
And so, I feel like that's where I was in Volume 4, but then in Volume 5, he just became, like, a lot more tolerable. I think that he's become a lot more mature, like, he's not being cringy, if that makes sense. Like, he's not making stupid jokes, and not that, like, you can make silly jokes, but they're silly and stupid, right? And Jaune was stupid sometimes.
It was such an archetype, and they did nothing interesting with it.
And so now I'm glad that he's changed a lot. Like, he seems to have this serious side to it. Like, when everybody's kind of standing around having fun, he's sort of standing by the door and he's like, guys, you know, you wanna chill? You know what I mean? Like, he's sort of like, he's slowly becoming the dad of the group, but, like, Ren is obviously the dad of the group, you know what I mean? And so there's that. But I feel like that, yeah, he's still having fun and he still is joking around and telling everybody how he lost his map. You know what I mean? Like, he still has that funny side to him, but again, there's funny and then there's annoying, and that's where I feel like Volume 5 really improved on him. And in the most recent episodes, like, there hasn't been anything that I've been like, wow, that's a bad line, or wow, that's not good, you know what I mean? Like, during the dance, like, situation, like, there were a lot of lines where I was just like, yikes, why would you do that? You know what I mean? And so in these past few episodes, he's gotten a bunch of really good lines that are realistic for his character, but at the same time aren't who he used to be. You know what I mean? And so I feel like if they intended for him to be cringy and now he's better later on, they've done a really good job at that. And I actually have gone from, like, totally hating his character. Also, in between this, somebody asked me to do, like, 10 crack theories, and they were all about Jaune, and you could tell the Jaune sort of fanboy, like, stemming from them. And that's why Hunter did an analysis of sort of the zealot Jaune fans, let's say. And so in between there, I was like, wow, I really hate Jaune, and it's not all of Jaune's fault. It's all of these stupid people that are driving me crazy. So that was kind of part of it. But I feel like now, like, I actually am enjoying seeing his character on screen. Like, it isn't that, like, he's not bad anymore. You know what I mean? And I don't think that they planned on changing his character, because they said after the Cardin thing that, you know, that Jaune's little arc there was a mistake, and they had made a lot of mistakes for his character. And so I don't believe this would have happened originally, but that kind of goes to show how sometimes you kind of need to make those mistakes because you may get a better outcome. Does that make sense? Because the only reason why we're at this point, I would say, is because, really, the fans have given some, like, criticism about how, like, this part of the Jaune, like, wasn't really great, like, this part wasn't either, and so instead of kind of getting the same character archetype the entire way through, you have them kind of listening to the fans and going like, oh, you know, maybe we shouldn't have done that, like, maybe we should change this, and then they've kind of improved him into, like, a much better character, and it feels very natural, even though I do think, I don't want to say that it was shoehorned in, but I think that you can definitely, like, look at the writers and tell that maybe this wasn't their original intention and they felt some pressure due to the criticism, but I feel like that's good because I feel like they have a better result. Does that make sense, Hunter?
Yes.
You've just been quiet, so do you want to say anything about that? You understand what I mean, though, right?
Yeah, that you feel as though that they've taken
taken fan consideration, and that
then maybe made him less of a... Which, I mean, Jaune's such a fucking, like, it's written by Miles Luna, and it feels like such a, like, Miles Luna insert character. Sometimes, not to... I don't know. I'm glad that he's, like, less of a focus. Because he's just not as interesting.
And I feel like when he is in focus, he's okay.
And when he's not, when he's kind of put in sort of a supporting role, he's made a more interesting character. So I think it works best.
So that's just kind of what I'm saying. Like, I really went, like, y'all, if you watch those videos, you know that I really hated Jaune for a while. Just because, like, it wasn't even him. It was the way people made him out to be that was just so, like, stupid. Most of the time, you know what I mean? Is that, like, he's gonna kill all of these people and become God and like, meet Kirito from Sword Art Online or, you know, whatever. Like, it was just all of these weird things.
Thought he was, that Mega Shadow Dragon guy.
And so, I feel like that now Jaune's kind of come into his own, if that makes sense. Like, he's not being... I don't want to say manipulated by the writers, because you always yell at me for kind of treating the characters like real people, but he's not being manipulated by the writers, but he's also not being too pressured by the fans anymore. He can kind of just come into his own person, and I know he's not real, but, like, it's whatever. You guys should probably understand what I'm saying by now. So yeah, so this is just kind of like my, like, how I've gone from, like, really, like, hating Jaune to actually, like, liking him a little bit. You know what I mean? Because I think Hunter's right. Like, I think that you need selective focus for all of your characters. Like, if you focus on one character, like, all the time, unless they're really interesting, like, that doesn't really do anything for you. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you need to kind of look into the other characters around you and look into their stories and how they act and stuff like that. Like, sticking with one person, like, the entire time and just that one person would be super boring, I guess, if that makes sense. Like, even in books where you only usually, like, maybe have one or two perspectives, you still, like, go into, other characters that are around that main character, right? And so I feel like that is kind of cool, you know what I mean? And that's what I'm glad that they're doing, because if they focused on RWBY all the time, like, RWBY's not the most interesting character.
She's really, when you think about it.
Nobody would be. Like, if you focused on Weiss for 5 volumes, like, that just wouldn't, like, we would go crazy
I feel like you could focus a show on Weiss and Blake. You could have level a show on Weiss and Blake, Weiss or Blake or Yang. But I feel like RWBY would be slightly more difficult.
Really? Because I think after 5 seasons of, like, focusing on Blake, I'd go crazy. Like, I love Blake, but that would drive me nuts. Because there's so many people that Blake doesn't intersect with, and there's so many people that Weiss doesn't intersect with. Like, you'd be missing a part of the world, and that's kind of what I'm getting.
You'd have to restructure it, but I'd be okay. I mean, like, this is only, like, if they entirely restructured it.
Yeah, but I'm saying in its current state. Because then, if you're only with Weiss, or you're only with Yang, like, you'd miss an entire part of Blake's story, right? You understand?
Yes.
Okay. You are horrible. Anyway, so, yeah, this was basically it, unless you have anything else to say, Hunter. I just had to get this off my chest. You know?
Okay, well, nice to know that this operates as therapy.
Yeah.
This is a lot more stressful than therapy.
But as I said in the last video, like, if they do something stupid with Jaune and Weiss again, I'm gonna be mad. Like, I mean, I shouldn't say again, but if they're like, oh, Jaune, like, I'm in love with you now because you saved me, or whatever. Somebody's called it Stockholm Syndrome, and I'm like, no, it's not that. Like, you're so wrong. But it would be like Florence Nightingale or whatever we said last episode. And so, like, when you kind of look at, like, stuff like that, I honestly, I have faith in them now. They have my trust because they handled the semblance thing well. That's pretty much all I have to say. And so I'm pretty confident that they won't do anything horrible, or super cliche, I suppose. But, again, like, if something happens in between now and the end of the volume, like, we'll see. You know what I mean? And Hunter's smiling because he's like, oh yeah, we'll see. You know what I mean?
Well, because I'm a pessimist, so I just assume shit.
But yeah, I do believe in them, like, at this point. Like, I trust them with Jaune. I think that they know what to do with him now, and they will keep doing it, and everything will be good. But again, that remains to be seen, and if something bad happens, that gives us another video. So, there you go. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this one. It was more of a personal one rather than, I guess, just about the episode, because it was just about me and just my experience with this character. And I want to do one about Weiss, too, because I was, like, kind of went through the same thing with Weiss, and I think a lot of people did, where it's like, wow, Weiss is a bitch, or like, wow, I want Weiss to step on me, and then like, oh, Weiss is a poor cinnamon roll, like her father hurt her, do not hurt
No,
my
I routinely
child.
want cinnamon rolls to step on me, but that's just my perversion.
Anyway, so I hope that you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, Patreon, Discord, all that stuff, and we will see you later. Bye-bye.